Well, among the Republican senators who opposed President Obama's move to close Guantanamo Bay is John Barrasso, who sits on the Foreign Relations Committee. He joined me from Capitol Hill a short time ago. Senator Barrasso, what is your biggest objection to the president's plan to close Guantanamo Bay?
You know, I think the president has had a misguided obsession with closing Gitmo from day one. I see no reason to do it. I've been there. It's a safe, secure location for holding enemy combatants. Anyone else that we capture, that's the place to interrogate, and then they can have a military tribunal trial as well. The president's been fixated on this, and I think it's to the detriment of our national security.
But, Senator, the U.S. system has shown that it can convict terrorists like the underwear bomber, the shoe bomber, hold them here successfully in maximum security jails. Why can't the U.S. jail system cope with the Guantanamo inmates?
Yeah. Well, I'm opposed to moving them from Guantanamo Bay to the United States. It may change the way that they are viewed in terms of their rights in court as opposed to enemy combatants. And this is at a time where there is increased need for national security. We have our generals calling for increased activities against ISIS, increased activities in Afghanistan. We have our Secretary of Defense asking for additional money for funding to deal with potential future threats from Russia and China. And I think this is the wrong message to send worldwide by the president to say we're going to close this detention facility.
But if the president and Congress can't agree, are the 91 inmates of Guantanamo Bay to just stay there forever?
Well, the president, has released so many of these, and the big concern of the American public is that so many of them have gone back into the fight. And today, to this point, one was arrested, a former detainee was arrested by the Spanish police who was trying to recruit for ISIS. Remember, the president makes campaign promises and then feels some obligation to keep them in the sense that he was the one that promised all troops out of Iraq. That set up the void that allowed for ISIS, I believe, to then grow. And I don't want him to, for the obligation of a campaign promise, to close a maximum security location, the best place, I believe, to interrogate foreign enemy combatants.
But we're now down to the hardcore of Guantanamo Bay inmates, not people who are going to be released, people who are deemed too dangerous to be released. Why can't they come back here and be detained here?
Well, I believe that we were at the hardcore long before this. But yet the president did a trade, 5 for the military man, Bergdahl, who had been captured. He traded 5 for him. So I think the president has been releasing people that I think should not be released, should not have been released. And that's why the experts are telling us that almost 1 out of every 3 who is released has gone back into the fight, and they are continuing to try to be and function as enemy combatants.
What if the president tries to use executive action to close Guantanamo Bay? What would your reaction be?
Well, we'll oppose that, of course, because so often the president says he uses executive, but Congress has acted in a bipartisan way to say the president could not transfer to the United States, could not close Guantanamo Bay, to the point when his own attorney general was asked about it not too long ago. She said, by virtue of the law that the president had himself signed, it would be illegal to close Guantanamo Bay and transfer those prisoners to the United States.
And yet, critics say that the very existence of Guantanamo Bay acts as a recruiting tool for the extremists. What do you say to that charge?
Well, I disagree completely. I hear the president say it. I'm not sure why he continues to say those sorts of things. I think it provides a sense of security to the American people, in a sense that these people are being held there captive, will be taken care of as enemy combatants, not as common criminals. And that's the difference of the way I think about the people that are at Guantanamo Bay, as opposed to maybe the way the president thinks of them.
Senator John Barrasso, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.